All right, thank you for staying with us. This first leg of the conversation is a continuation of what we started yesterday. And of course, that's the in thing, in town right now, talking about electoral process, strengthening, the Electoral Act as of 2022 and the proposed proposals that the amendments being sought by individuals, stakeholders as far strengthening, and making our elections free, fair, and more credible, and that is why that push is at the National Assembly. And one of those proposals is the constitutional backing for a mandatory electronic transmission of election results. And of course, there was protest yesterday at the National Assembly by civil society organizations, non-government organizations, individuals, politically exposed persons like Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Parties and his obedience movement. They were there calling for a mandatory, constitutional backing, because some would say it is there, but maybe it's optional or discretional, as far as INEC is concerned. But, the push is for let's have a constitutional backing that electronic transmission will be mandatory. We not have any other option, as we currently have it. There is the manual option, there is the e-transfer or e-transmission option of the matter, and that's what we are looking at today. And many persons have been having that call. Many of them senior advocates of Nigeria Society, Guild of Editors. When I say senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana spoke on that a few days ago. And Olisa Agbakoba, senior advocate of Nigeria, has been part of those making those calls as well, that this is what we must do at the time. And talking about the Southern and Middle Belt Leadership Forum on Monday demanded that Clause 60 of the proposed 2026 Electoral Amendment Bill, already passed by the House of Representatives, be retained. The forum warned that any attempt to discredit the provision will erode Nigeria's democratic foundations. When I said, protest, I would just allow you to have a hang of how it went yesterday at the National Assembly.
Are we lazy? No. Are we lazy? No. Are we tired? No. Are we greedy? No. Are we bandit? No. Our vote no. Transmit it. Who transfer help? Transmit to IREF. Not to. Transmit now. Transmit it. Don't transfer it, transmit it. It is the people who want to rig election that will go to court.
Yes.
Akpabio must come out and pass the electoral reform.
Exactly.
No. As we
pass the bill. Akpabio. Pass the bill. Akpabio. Pass the bill.
All right, there you go. Just a hang. Of course, it was a protest that lasted for quite some time, actually, yesterday at the National Assembly. The Senate will be resuming for an emergency plenary today to work on the matter. In fact, the key word is to harmonize. So, will there be a rethink? Will there be a consideration of some of these concerns? Or it is a done deal? We look at the legal and, of course, working, takes on these matters as well. We now have with us a law lecturer and legal practitioner, Barrister Misbau Lateef. He joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lateef.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning.
Thank you very much. We will also be joined by Chetam Nwala shortly as well. Now, your take on this matter, Dr. Lateef. The calls are becoming more and more stronger. You know, there are people that are for, there are some that are against. Some are saying let's have it, but some have some grave concerns about the workability, internet penetration, technological failure, glitches. But some will say, yes, all of those concerns are there, but must we remain there just because we think we are not ready? You know, let's just look into that. Legally, you know, it's an act of the parliament, and that's why the pressure is on the National Assembly, especially the Senate, to tinker with that part, make it mandatory so that it will be workable. Your take, Dr. Lateef.
All right, thank you so much again. Good morning to your viewers and Nigerians all over the world.
Yeah,
I know your station has so much reach beyond the territory of Nigeria.
thank you.
So yeah, basically for me, it is not really an issue of we against them or they against us. I see a lot of misunderstanding going around here. And I think many people have misunderstood or are misunderstanding, and some perhaps mischievously, you know, what the so-called electronic transmission is exactly all about. So the starting point, therefore, is to understand what exactly are people saying. As we speak now, the Electoral Act 2022, you know, which is now being worked out or amended, already makes provision for electronic transfer, and we understand that. But what people are saying, which I do not agree with, I mean, I'm telling you where I stand now, is what they call the real-time electronic, you know, transmission. What they are saying, as I've seen many people understood it, is that people's votes are transmitted electronically immediately as they hot, as we say in Nigeria, or as it happens. You know, when you say real time, you are saying you want this happen immediately, and in law, the law does not leave a room for vacuum. If it doesn't happen immediately, then what is the consequence? Now, when you make such a demand, you want to look at the entire ecosystem of electoral system in the society. There is no place in the world, even in this country where I live, you know, where technology is foolproof. Let alone a country like Nigeria, where internet penetration and electricity penetration is still far, far behind across many communities all over the country. In Agumbelewo, where your station is today, which is the heart of Oshogbo, I mean, not far from the city center, there are places right there in Agumbelewo, as I speak to you now, where internet penetration is very, very poor, where you cannot immediately make a video call or download anything or upload anything. Now, let's now go further to my own community, Ifon Oshun, which is not also far from your Agumbelewo. I mean, some 4 or 5 kilometers away. They are remote area. So what people are saying, really, for me, is rooted in so much, I would say, lack of understanding. And for so many people, I would say hypocrisy. I saw a video earlier. Some of the folks I saw on those screen are people who belong to a particular political party and who support a particular candidate. There is nothing absolutely wrong in that. I mean, they are entitled as Nigerians, you know, to take sides. So for me, really, I think people do not really understand exactly what this is all about. So basically, what the Senate is saying, which I agree with, is that you cannot make this mandatory given the limitations or challenges that we have with, I would say, internet and all of those things. Because if you make it mandatory, then you make it become problematic for the Electoral Act. You even make it become problematic for the courts. So what happens? So at any rate, if you ask me, this electronic transfer or transmission, let us assume that the Senate will even agree to that today. What exactly is it going to yield? At the end of the day, it may amount to nothing. And this is where I see people, like I said earlier, making so much noise about this, you know, in ignorance. Because I say it will amount to nothing because 99.9% of the electoral activities are still conducted manually. As I speak to you now, some people ignorantly assume that real-time electronic transmission means that as people are voting, their vote go to a center or a central portal where people can then collate results on their own and so on. That is not the case. The transmission people are agitating for is mere uploading of an image or from ECHA. I mean, after the ballot is already cast, it is sorted manually, it is counted, a winner or whoever is announced at the polling booth, then the presiding officer, as the case may be, will then upload this on IREF. This has been the practice for a long time. And as I understand the way the IREF work is such that even when they do it in remote area, it doesn't upload immediately. It takes time. When they get to a network coverage area, then the thing is uploaded. And I want to tell you this, many people don't know this. The 2023 election, the presidential IREF, whatever, were eventually uploaded. Everything was eventually uploaded online. The same thing in Edo State and in some other state. So for me, really, and rounding up my thought on this, is that people who are agitating for real time, they do not exactly understand what real time means. And they are doing that without putting in consideration the challenges or peculiar challenges of data coverage or whatever, as I said, in Nigeria. So for me, I do not think real time, as they have put it, or making it mandatory is it's practical or practicable. This society, as I said earlier, as advanced as it is, we still do things in what we call a hybrid. There is no rule that say you have to do it in a particular mandatory way.
Barrister. All right, Barrister, thank you. If you're just joining us on the show, we have Dr. Misbau Lateef, law lecturer and law practitioner right there with us. And we have joining us at this moment human rights activist and lawyer as well, Barrister Chetam Nwala. Barrister, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, I'd like to ask you, you've seen the lots of uproar on this e-transmission thing, the transfer, that is being debated in the National Assembly at this time. You saw also the protest as well. Yesterday we had on the show an election observer of repute from Kimpact right there yesterday, and he said a lot of things about how the e-transmission thing could be the best and how we could have, if e-transmission is not working per se, talking about the IREV, we could use fax and the satellite and all of that things. But now Barrister Misbau Lateef has spoken as well. He said the real-time thing, it means that, if we're to look at it the way Nigerians are carrying it, probably people do not really understand what they're asking for. But would you really say that the people don't understand? There is a lot of distrust between the people, the electoral body, that's INEC now, and the government. So if the people are to look away from this e-transmission thing, the real-time, clause in that particular, statement or reform, do you think that the people will still have a lot of interest, a lot of trust in that? Let's talk about how you feel about this issue.
Good morning, and thank you for having me once again. There are a lot of things that have actually happened or played out in course of this whole thing when it comes to the issue of the transmission of results. In the last elections, we saw the introduction of the IREF, and some of us had hoped that the results that INEC would use are the result that was sent to the IREF, and not these other ones we now saw later on and all that. But that didn't work. And that was the high hopes Nigerians had. Nigerians had these high hopes that because the results that was on the IRF could be seen by everyone, so they came out en masse, mobilized en masse for the elections. In short, it's one of the elections, especially the presidential election, we saw a lot of participation by most Nigerians, and for a very long time, we've not really seen the level of interest Nigerians have shown in an election like they did in the last election. But of course, we're all disappointed when both INEC as well as the court also held and stated clearly that, see, it is not about the IRF. It is whatever result that is being collated by INEC and announced, that is the position of things. But some of us are worried with that particular position. And you see, this current agitation as to transmission, transfer, and all that, they are all semantics. And that's why Nigerians are majorly confused as to what the demands are. Like my colleague had said, it is difficult for anyone to say that at this point in time that we can have a real-time transmission of votes. It's very difficult. We do not have the technology and we do not have the capacity as a country. But I think what they mean by real time is the result sheet being uploaded real time to the IRF, like we have had, and that the IRF itself, result on the IRF should be the result that should count, and not necessarily the transmission of each vote casted. Because if we want to say each vote casted should be transmitted, it's not achievable, even with the shortest possible time we have right now. It's really not achievable. But I think the agitation is to the effect that the result sheet, when gotten, should be transmitted to the IRF, and that the results from the IRF should be what should count. And I think that for me is a viable option. It's what would boost the confidence of Nigeria in the electoral process, because as of today, a lot of Nigerians have lost interest in both our electoral process and also in our judiciary. The only thing that would give Nigerians a confidence is where we now make this particular recommendation that has been made that, see, results gotten from the polling units, from the final result sheets, should immediately be transmitted to the IRF. And it is only result on the IRF that should count. Not necessarily results from, because let me tell you, I was a party agent in the last elections, and when I went to the local government collation center, it was a mess, a total mess. I must tell you for free. You know what happened was, I discovered that all the results, that everything done at the polling unit became rubbish, because by the collation at the collation center, the local government collation center, we saw a situation where results were changed, practically changed before us. In short, most of these local government agents refused to upload the results at the polling units level. They came down to the local government collation center, changed the results, and uploaded it. As a matter of fact, I even saw somebody not uploading directly from a sheet, but uploading from the phone, from a phone. He was uploading the result from a phone, and I raised up concern with it. Of course, I was a minority voice within the circle there, and we were practically overpowered by the number of persons who were there. So there was little or nothing I could do at that particular circumstance. But of course, I raised up a lot of dust during the course of that election. But let me say this clearly, that if we really want to get this right, it should be mandatory in our law, because the law is everything. It should be mandatory in our laws that only results on the IRF would be the recognized results. This would boost the confidence of Nigerians. Nigerians at the polling unit level will demand from the INEC reps to upload the result there and then. And that any result not uploaded at the polling unit level or at a particular time. Say, let's say, for example, election is expected to end by 4 p.m. or voting is supposed to end by 4 p.m. So plus or minus between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., we must have done the sorting and evaluation of the polling unit level. And if it is a reality situation, then what is best in the circumstances, our law should be able to capture that in circumstances of that, that these results, should any result that comes in after 8 p.m. would not be recognized. Trust me, these things would be done immediately, and it will boost the confidence of Nigerians. And those who have plans of rigging our elections would actually, they take a back seat. They will take a back seat, and we'll see these things work. But if we are talking about live transmission of each individual vote, that's not going to work in this nation.
All right.
It's not possible.
All right.
But this part, what I think in my own understanding, that this is what most persons actually think, the issue of the IRF counting. Because in the last election, the IRF did not count. It was like a waste of money to build that particular technology, because even the courts did not recognize the IRF. Right. So if that is the case, why then do we have an IRF? So there is a need for us to for the new legislation to actually take claim that the IRF should be the point of all for our elections, and that alone will solve more problems.
All right.
Can I clarify your point?
Yeah, I'll come to you, Barrister Misbau. In fact, I'm coming to you right now. With your, I know you have something to add. Let me quickly add this as well, because the point here for many Nigerians is the trust, the credibility that whatever will make our elections watertight, even though you might say we don't have any 100% kind of, perfection anywhere around the world, but some of these errors, some of these things, some of the technicalities, you see them as a schoolboy error. Some of these, the way result sheets are, rumpled, cancellations, all over the place, the manipulations of politicians and the collusion by some stakeholders in the thing. Some Nigerians will say, whatever will help us. You made mention of some politically exposed persons of a particular camp, which you have said, that it's actually right. It doesn't matter right now who is pushing for what. Nigeria is for everybody. And of course, it will take the vote of Nigerians to bring anybody that is running for office. So if we can achieve that because of internet penetration, technological glitch, maybe we are not there right now. Must we perpetually be convenient on that point to say we are not there? 2023, we are not there. 2027, most likely will not be there. And in 2021, we still come back to this point. Won't we get to a point where we will move? Because some have said, if there is a will, there is a way. That INEC has a budget of over ₦1 trillion. That people talk about POS machines and even the remotest of the areas, that if we want it to work, it must work. Convenient point to say 2019 it can't work, 2023 it can't work, 2027 it can't work, in 2021, 31 rather, we'll come back to this point and say it can't work. Are we not at the point that we must make a deliberate effort, either as a e-transmission or whatever component that comes with it, whatever we need to do, we must do it, not being quite comfortable and convenient to say it cannot work at this time. I'd like you to take your thoughts and then this question together.
Thank you so much for that. And let me start by saying that, you see, the issue for me here really is not about whether we all agree about the challenges with our electoral system. I understand the trust deficit. I have them myself, and you can't blame Nigerians for that. I mean, our institutional challenges, electoral fraud that we have seen over and over again, and all of that. So I think Nigerians all agree that we do have challenges, right? So going forward is all we are seeking for. Now, but in going forward, I think some people are just trying to jump the gun. And this is why I used the word ignorance earlier. You say you can only grow at your own speed based on the circumstances that you find yourself. I don't think it would be right for anyone to say, since 1999 and now, we have not really made significant improvement in our electoral system. Year in, year out, there has been improvement, and we can always consolidate on that. But when some people agitate that we'll jump before we walk at all, I think this is where the problem lies. So for me, really, basically, there is no disagreement about the need to reform the system, whatever we can do, but whatever we need to do, we cannot say because we need a solution. Then we have to do the impossible. And in law, as we say, my colleague can confirm this, the law cannot decree or mandate the impossible. Even if you do that, when the matter eventually gets to the court will sift through that and say, well, this thing could not have actually been possible in the first place. Now, let me go back to the point I wanted to make earlier. And I'm happy that me and my colleague, we actually agree so much on this issue. You see, I said something earlier. I said many people are agitating ignorantly. Many people perhaps are also doing it mischievously. Many people just want to follow the sensation. They don't really understand what this is all about. And I'm happy that my learned friend has actually made a point. You see, I said, even if the Senate today say it shall be transmitted automatically as people are agitating for, that eventually will amount to nothing. You know why I said so? I said so because of the point that my learned friend made earlier. As we speak now, it is not the law that whatever is uploaded on the IRF will be the ultimate result. That is not the law. So people are actually making the wrong agitations. because many people, as I said earlier, they are very ignorant. They don't even understand what this is all about. They don't know what they are asking for. The law as we speak now is not that IREF will be ultimate results. The law is still that what is counted manually, what is collated manually, is the supreme result, such that even if, as I said earlier, and I'm repeating myself now, if IREF is mandated, as people are asking for, ignorantly, I dare say, it will still not solve any significant problem, because ultimately, if there is a conflict between what is on IREF and what is on Form EC8, the physical one that people supposedly sign, the law is still that the physical one will be the ultimate result. So what is the point? So people, again, ignorantly assume that once you upload on IREF, then the votes will tally themselves, then you can begin to know who scored what. No, that is not the case. So for me, really, I think people are rather misplacing the priority in this case. What people should focus on is, one, how do we get people to really participate in elections, monitor their votes, ensure, for example, that they stay at the polling booths, the votes are properly counted, they are uploaded on IREF. I'm not against IREF. IREF did not start yesterday. Will not be starting in 2027. We have IREF already, and we are all agreed that IREF should work. But what people are asking for, as I said earlier, many don't even understand what it means, and they don't understand the limitations. So if the law is not that this IREF upload is the ultimate result, so what is the point about the noise? Why are people making this noise? And that is the point.
All right, Barrister, I'd like to ask you this morning. You have also talked about the fact that we've made electoral gains, since, the 1990s. I'd like to ask you, with this gains of the IREF, the beavers, if the IREF will not be the ultimate measure of what a successful result is in a particular polling station or polling unit, what exactly are the gains that we've saying that, or that we make bold to say that we've made in our electoral reforms and all of that? If we're still talking about the fact that, people agitated for IREF, real-time transmission and all of this, and now even the court would not recognize the IREF as, the ultimate show of what a polling station has polled, what is our gain? What is this reform all about? And then we keep going back and forth on these same things.
All right, thank you for asking this question. I think you are now getting to the point I was trying to make earlier, and that is, quite refreshing for me. You see, when I say we have made gain, significantly, we have actually made gain. And the gain, for example, is the awareness that people now have. That's part of the gain. The fact that people make this demand and advocacy. But you see, as they make the demand and advocacy, what some of us are trying to do is to educate them, to discourage people from just following sensation or frenzy without understanding what exactly it is. So the point is that, yes, the IREF thing is a significant improvement in the sense that, yes, as I said earlier, as we speak now, it is not the ultimate result. The law has not said so, okay? But the fact that we have IREF, for me, I believe, as in a way, I would say, help people's belief in the credibility of the system, in the sense that people can at least have some results, which is uploaded online, which they can use, whether it will be accepted or not, to compare with whatever is being collated or being counted. We've seen it online where people share many results and they tell you, oh, this is not exactly what was uploaded online, blah, blah, and all of those. For me, really, that awareness itself, we may not be able to quantify this, but it's very significant in the psyche of the people in terms of credibility. And we can only be positive to say, okay, if we can get here now, then we can definitely get to the next stage. You see, the ultimate next stage, which we are not yet ready for, is the electronic voting. If we are able to get to IREF, for me, I think that is something to assure us that gradually we are probably getting to electronic voting. You see, if you are able to get electronic voting, the issue of whether IREF is automatic or not will not arise again. Because if you have electronic voting, there will be a central portal where your vote goes to automatically and in real time as you cast your ballot. In that case, the tally can actually I would say, compute itself. Just as we see in South Africa and some other places, such as people are voting, we already know what the numbers exactly are. We will not need to wait and sit in front of our TV station waiting for one rec to come and announce or, declare to us what we already know, because the number will be will be real time. So basically, again, the ultimate destination is electronic voting, which we can really achieve, and I believe in that.
All right.
Okay. So in the long run, for example, we can actually have a hybrid system where we have secure network coverage or whatever. People can vote electronically, which is the case in the US. In some other, people do voting ballots, drop-in ballots rather. Some people actually vote electronically and all of that. So we can combine all of these things rather than people agitating that it has to be one way and no other way.
All right. Barrister, let me come in here, sir. Yeah. Barrister Lateef, let me come in here before I come to Barrister Chetam. Now, for the fact that, all those concerns, let's stay on this matter now, for the purpose of this conversation, some have said it is possible that, that the benefits outweighs, the challenges. Talking about speed, because when you talk about this manual voting, somebody coming from the riverine areas, sometimes it takes 2 days, sometimes it takes a complete day, and then before they come, and all of those things, and by the time they come, and we spoke to Bukola Edo, the executive director of Kimpact, a body organization that has been on this matter for quite some time, talking about election monitoring and observation in Nigeria, who said he cited the case of, I think it was in 2019, where a professor, I think from Rivers State or so, brought a particular, result, and then he found it difficult when it was time for Rivers State to even pronounce the figures. And many persons will say maybe many things have changed hands at that period. Maybe what the professor, signed before they came to Abuja was not what he found. And, it became quite comic at the time because the man required for more light and all of those things. It became a comical affair. But very seriously to say, if these things are done, they said banks still have their agents, even in the remote areas. They still, someone even talked about fax that is still available in Ghana. It's available in the US and the UK, that the will is the main thing. That if you want it to work, it can work. And the issue of somebody you have a national election that will take 2 days before somebody arrives from one local government or the other. Shouldn't we be making that push now? That even if it's not going to be for 2027, it can be ready before 2031, really, if we are willing, instead of discarding it to say it can't work.
Well, I understand the place of will in achieving anything, whether for individual, for corporate, or for a country. And I've always talked about our politicians or political elite, not having the political will to do the right thing. You see, we have a democracy. And the good thing here is that we will have to sustain these agitations, here and there. But even as we do that, we have to be very careful not to allow people, as I said earlier, to allow ignorance to overshadow things. So yes, it is a democracy. People can agitate, we can continue to make all of this call and all of that. You talk about bank earlier. In your Agumbelewo, I know for a fact, there is not any bank in Agumbelewo. In my Osun State, there used to be a bank. There is no bank there today again.
But there is POS operators everywhere.
The POS operators is not a regular bank. When you say Bank of Asia, the POS operator is an automated teller machine.
Yeah, anyway, that's the point they are making, that if these things can work, even in the remote areas, why can't e-voting work?
The POS depend on data network. I'm saying there are areas in Agumbelewa, and I'm using this as an example deliberately so that we can be practical. Ifon is just 5 kilometers away from Oshogbo, and yet there are these challenges. There are villages of Ifon by community that you can't even get. So anyway, the point is this. For me, I don't belong to the group of those who say, no, we can't achieve it. No. I belong actually to the group of people who think, look, we have to keep working towards this. We have to keep nudging the politician to demonstrate the political will to do the right thing. This is why you will not see me criticize anyone for advocating for, I would say, this future or developmental progress and all of that. What I will say basically is that, look, even as we do that, we should let people understand things such that, as we are saying now, do you imagine what it will have been if what people are actually saying is that make IREF the ultimate result? But people are not saying that. They are wasting their energy on misinformation.
Because of time, sir, I think that point of making IREF the real point has been established by you and even by Chetam here. Let me go to him, by Chetam now. Why do you think that the politicians, I mean, those are the National Assembly, by their body language, talking about Senator Godswill Akpabio, who was quoted to have said, don't lie against us. We have not even confirmed this matter. It's all for vote. We have not, struck the gavel on this matter to say whatever we will do will be in the best interest of Nigerians. Nobody can, coerce or force us to do what we will not do. And we understand they are sitting today. Barrister Chetam, it seems the reps, by their resolution, are open to this idea. But the Senate, they are the ones, as an institution, because we've seen some senators who say, no, we are for transmission. But in democracy, constitutional democracy, majority we have to say. It seems the senators, and as an institution now, are not open to these ideas. Why do you think, for the purpose of conversation, the politicians, those are the National Assembly, the senators, they are not open to these as well?
Let me tell you something. In the history of Nigeria, these are the worst crop of National Assembly members we have had. And unfortunately, we have persons at the National Assembly who, rather than seek for the interests of the people they represent, are representing a certain party interest and a certain mandate interest, I will call it now. See, the truth of the matter remains and is that the National Assembly members, especially the senators, are more experienced than those of them at the House of Rep. They are more experienced politically than those of them at the House of Rep. So they understand what it means to rig elections and win elections better than those at the House of Rep. House of Rep members are most times younger persons who actually are sometimes new to the game and also sometimes not too experienced and exposed in the politics scene. But in the Senate, you have former governor who now form the one thing is important that we outline is that these persons in question that have seen that what they have continued to push is their own interest and the interest of the group they support. And all know that the majority of the Senate and they are pushing the interest of Mr. President. And you see, the Nigerian politicians will continue to have this fear of being able to win election free and squarely. Because when you look at their activities does not suggest in any way that whatever they are doing is to the best interest of the people. They are continuing to carry themselves as lords over the people rather than representatives of the people. See, the whole agitation you see, the whole thing you see us, the noise made about these issues is just so that power returns back to the hands of the people and not remain in the hands of politicians. When the people can decide to vote out anybody they wish to vote out and vote anybody that wish to vote in free and squarely, you will see that these politicians will now return back to the people and they will start doing that which is in the best interest of the people. But right now, they will not do that because they control the rigging mechanism. They control the rigging machinery. So at this point, you see them continue to agitate and to make sure that there are flaws in our laws to protect them tomorrow. And that was what happened in last election. They saw the flaws in the law. And that flaw in the law protected them. And that is why you see, when everybody was expecting that the result that was transmitted to the IREF would be the actual result, and INEC took a different position, the court also agreed with that yes, the result of INEC was actually correct. Because it made it mandatory that result from the IREF would be the original result. So now the agitation is that result from the IREF should be the main result. But trust our politicians, they would also look for ways to rig the system. That's the Nigerian politicians for you. So when this agitation becomes too much and the people overpower them in this particular agitation, they would naturally make this mandatory, but they would also try to create a loophole in the law. A loophole that will fit into their own agenda and their own agitations. And you see them remain until you see the courts giving rolling out judgments based on the law, which have created this loophole. This is how our politicians are going to operate, because they are not into with the people they seek to represent. They are far from the man. 90% of them know if they go back to the plan and ask for votes, vote them out. In short, a lot of them did not come over there by the votes of the people. I give you an example. You return back home here in Rivers State, where one man is saying that I bought form for everybody. Everybody who is whatever, I bought form for them. So if that is his situation, it simply means that the persons he bought form for would be loyal to him and not loyal to the people that they are ordinarily supposed to represent. So the people are tired of this type of thing. They want the situation. They will take back the nation, take back their representative, and the representative will now be loyal to them and not be loyal to the person who had claimed to have bought form for them.
All right.
This is where we are right now.
All right.
And let me say this. There's a difference between e-voting and e-transmission results. E-voting has to do with what my brother Lateef had earlier on said, that the real-time transmission of the votes, you cast your vote and it's electronically transmitted. So we don't need to do the ballot sorting and all that. There will be no need for papers and all that. We have seen NBA adopt that system at the national level for its voting pattern. Most universities, like the Rivers State University, they also adopt that same this at the SUG elections. We have seen that happen. But we have also seen a situation where right now, the e-voting thing is not even working in these organizations, in that it is now being manipulated and controlled by one individual. So one individual now determines who comes what, who wins what election, he controls the back end of the elections. So this is a thing that has to do with the e-voting. Now, we have seen people raise up concern, even in the last MB elections. People raise up concern about the e-voting. Now, the e-transmission, which is clear, and to the effect that electoral results that are gotten at the polling units from the electoral sheet are transmitted immediately from the polling unit down to the IREF. And that this transmission down to the IREF should be what should count. Should be what should count, and not what was done at the collation center. Like I said, the collation center is a mess, because I can tell you for free that in most collation center, by the night of the elections, the original persons accredited by INEC to become POs, IOs, and all those things that INEC sends out, they change them immediately.
All right,
in most local government.
All right, Barrister, you've made your point about e-voting, e-transmission, and how all of this can still be manipulated, as well as the manual. So what then should Nigeria, in this call for electoral reform, we've been on it for a while now, people are agitating for an electoral reform, a democracy that actually works, especially at the electoral system, at the electoral level. So what then should Nigeria be advocating?
No. See, at this point, we are going to try the manual, the mandatory transmission of electronic results from the polling units. We are here to try that, and to see it's working. But what we are saying is that what I'm trying to say is that politicians have a way of rigging this system. They have a way of looking out for loopholes or creating loopholes within the law to make sure that this system is rigged. Now, but the agitation that the real-time transmission of results from the polling units should actually go, I support that 101%, and should be mandatory, should be what should count, and not the manual arrangement we have always had. And the manual arrangement should not supersede it, because Nigerians can trust that, at least for now. Pending when that fails, see, this is an evolving system. It cannot be perfect from the beginning. It's an evolving system. As we go, we pray we get better. And as we get better, we'll look out for better solutions and better options to this whole thing. Remember, there were times we didn't use card readers. We saw it. It was my accreditation we were doing. All right. And now we're using card readers to read cards and all. So it's going to continue to evolve. We'll come up with better options and better opinions on how to get this sorted out and to make sure that we have a perfect election or a near perfect elections. All right. But right now, it is important that these IREF issues should be mandatory.
All right. All right. You know,
the back end, and the back end should also be open to all parties. Yeah. So every agent of political parties should have access to the back end and should see them retime.
All right.
When they've been uploaded.
It's a long conversation, actually. You know, we wanted a break earlier. Because of the exigency of time, we have less than 6 minutes. Permit me to just, look at other things beyond the because it will sound, most of you, I mean, 2 of you have agreed that while the transmission thing is good, anything that can help us is fine, either mandatory or not, but it will take more than e-transmission, being made mandatory for us to have, a proper and credible election. But let's talk about legal profession. Less than 5 minutes for this conversation. The president of the NBA, Mazi Afamosigwe, a few days ago, raised concerns about the declining image of the judiciary in the country, warning the perception held by members of the public that it is not only a threat to democracy, but the entire country. He cited reports that the NBA president, the NBA president lamented judges and lawyers have been indicted as the most corrupt Nigerians who are influenced by fatness, using his word, fatness of envelopes in the pursuit of justice rather than on evidence. And Osigwe made the claims while speaking at the weekend in Enugu at the Ralph Okpara Memorial Lecture organized by the National Association of Sea Dogs. The lecture was titled Judicial Corruption in Nigeria, a Menace to Democracy and Society Justice. And he said the state of the judiciary is a moral crisis and a democratic emergency. The judiciary was referred to as the last hope of common cash bribes in 2023, with judges among the top recipients. He talked about the ICPC and he said the rot in our judiciary